Today we will discuss about respiration. Respiration. Respiration is a process where the biological oxidation of glucose to get energy in the form of ATPs. A biological oxidation of glucose to get energy in the form of ATPs. Respiration takes place in both plants and animals, and there is no difference as far as respiration in plants and animals is concerned. It takes place in both plants and animals, during which both plants and animals during respiration they take oxygen. That oxygen is used to split glucose to form the energy in the form of ATPs, and the CO2 is going out. There would be no difference as far as respiration in both plants and animals. An equation for respiration is C6H12O6, it is glucose in presence of oxygen. That glucose splitted into carbon dioxide and water, and the formation of 36 ATPs of energy. 36 ATPs of energy. But actually in respiration, it is an aerobic respiration. Taking place in presence of oxygen. Sometimes they will give more equations. Which of the following is an equation for aerobic respiration? They would give this one, and even they will give another equation, C6H12O6, 6O2, 6CO2, 12H2O, delta H is equal to 686 kilocalories, with the liberation of 686 kilocalories of energy. It's an exothermic reaction. If they give first equation is also right. If they give the second equation is also the equation for aerobic respiration. And as far as aerobic respiration is concerned, it takes place in 3 steps. Those 3 steps are: first one, glycolysis. Second is Krebs cycle, and third is terminal oxidation. These are the 3 steps: glycolysis, Krebs cycle, terminal oxidation. This glycolysis is taking place in a cell cytoplasm. It takes place in a cell cytoplasm. And Krebs cycle, it takes place in the matrix of mitochondria. And terminal oxidation is taking place on elementary particles. Elementary particles. It takes place in 3 steps: glycolysis, Krebs cycle, and terminal oxidation. The first step, glycolysis, is taking place in cell cytoplasm only, but the remaining 2 steps, they are taking place in mitochondria. that Krebs cycle takes place in the matrix of mitochondria, and terminal oxidation takes place on elementary particles as well. To know about matrix and elementary particles, we should know about the structure of mitochondria. The structure of mitochondria is a plural form. Singular is mitochondrion. Singular mitochondrion is also double membraned organelle. Outer membrane is straight, but the inner membrane makes some inward foldings. This is outer membrane and is inner membrane. In between them there is a perimitochondrial space, and the inner membrane makes some inward foldings. Those are named as cristae. On these cristae we do see stalked particles. These stalked particles are named as elementary particles. Elementary particles. And the inner membrane encloses the space inside is a matrix. Is a matrix. And just like chloroplast, even mitochondria is also autocatalytic organelle, so that it is having its own protein synthesizing machinery. That protein synthesizing machinery includes 70S ribosome, a piece of DNA, and 3 types of RNAs. 3 types of RNAs is the structure of mitochondria. See here. Our aerobic respiration takes place in 3 steps. The first step, glycolysis, is taking place in cell cytoplasm. During glycolysis, that glucose splits and becomes 2 pyruvic acids. Those 2 pyruvic acids from the cytoplasm, they enter into the matrix of mitochondria through these 2 membranes. And here in matrix, Krebs cycle is taking place. During this Krebs cycle, energy is released in the form of NADH2 and FADH2. NADH2, FADH2, even ZTP are also formed. And these NADH2 and FADH2, in which NADH2 is having 3 ATPs of energy, FADH2 is having 2 ATPs of energy. And these NADH2 and FADH2, in the final step, they go to elementary particles where terminal oxidation takes place, during which that NADH2 yield 3 ATPs, whereas FADH2 yield 2 ATPs of energy. It's total summary of aerobic respiration. And our work is to discuss about these things. Concerned to them, there will be many NEET questions. How they ask NEET questions with these 3 steps that we can see. Already one NEET question. Which of the following is equation for aerobic respiration? They give these 2. One more. But remember, both of them are right. And concern to this, glycolysis takes place in, the answer is cell cytoplasm. Krebs cycle takes place in the matrix of mitochondria, and terminal oxidation takes place in elementary particles present on cristae of inner membrane. The energy present in NADH2 is 3 ATPs of energy. The energy present in FADH2 is 2 ATPs of energy. The energy present in GTP is 1 ATP of energy. 1 GTP is equal to 1 ATP. And as far as long form of NADH2, reduced nicotinamide, adenine dinucleotide, FADH2, reduced flavin, adenine dinucleotide. You should remember the long form of NADH2 and FADH2. NADH2, its long form is due to the presence of H2. We have given the terminology reduced. Reduced nicotinamide, adenine dinucleotide, FADH2. As H2 is there, reduced flavin, adenine dinucleotide, that is the long form of FADH2. And energy also you know about. GTP, you know the long form of ATP, that is adenosine triphosphate. In the similar way, GTP means guanosine triphosphate. Guanosine triphosphate. But the energy present in GTP is almost equal to the ATP as well. While dealing with photosynthesis, we came across NADPH2. What is the difference between NADH2 in respiration, NADPH2 in photosynthesis? One similarity between them is both of them are reducing acids. They provide hydrogen during the reaction. The difference is NADH2 is an energy yielder because it produces 3 ATPs of energy. From NADPH2 we don't get ATPs, but we do get ATPs from NADH2. The similarity and difference between NADPH2 and NADH2, even there is a difference in their long form, and the difference, NADH2 give ATPs but NADPH2 does not give ATPs, and similarity, both of them are reducing acids. Both of them are reducing acids. Okay? And even they may ask another NEET question. Which of the following are reducing acids? NADH2 1, FADH2 2, NADPH2 3. Answer is all these. They are all reducing acids. If they give NADP, NAD plus, FAD plus, these three are reducing acids as they provide hydrogen. And what are these? Instead of giving, they take hydrogen. Then These three are oxidizing agents. Remember this point. Which of the following are oxidizing agents? NADP plus, NAD plus, FAD plus, all these. What are the reducing agents? NADPH2, NADH2, FADH2, all these is right. And now it's time to discuss about the first step, glycolysis. For that, I need to have the scheme, a complete scheme of stepwise reactions will come across. That we have to discuss. That is the area where bunch of NEET questions you will come across. Glycolysis. It is the first step in aerobic respiration. Remember, it is the first step in anaerobic respiration also. Glycolysis is a process where 6-carbon glucose is splitted into 2 molecules of pyruvic acids. 2 molecules of pyruvic acids. And it is taking place in cytoplasm. And this glycolysis is also named as EMP pathway. EMP pathway. Why this glycolysis is said to be EMP pathway? 3 eminent molecular biologists named Embeden, Meyerhoff, and Penance did work on it. Hence the name EMP pathway. EMP pathway. Let us see. It is taking place in cell cytoplasm. In cell cytoplasm, glucose is there. This glucose, in the first step, gets energy from ATP. When it gets energy from ATP, ATP becomes ADP, leading to the formation of glucose 6-phosphate. Here ATP has given energy in the sense it has given a phosphate group also. That's why ATP becomes ADP and that phosphate comes to glucose. In any organic compound, when the phosphate group comes, it is always attached to the last carbon. Here we have written glucose 6-phosphate means it is attached to the 6th carbon of glucose. In any organic compound, a single phosphate group is there that is attached to the last carbon of that organic compound. And now this glucose 6-phosphate, instead of undergoing splitting, it undergoes isomerization. Isomerization. You know that the isomer of glucose is fructose. Then the isomer of glucose 6-phosphate is fructose 6-phosphate. So that it undergoes isomerization. This symbol is indicating they can interchange. And now this fructose 6-phosphate gets energy from one more ATP. When it gets energy, it gets phosphate from ATP as well. That's why ATP becomes ADP. Now this fructose 6-phosphate becomes fructose 1,6-biphosphate. Already I have told, if just one phosphate group is there in any organic compound, that is there on last carbon. In case 2 phosphate groups are present, one is present on the last carbon, another is present on first carbon. Hence the name fructose 1,6-biphosphate. Those 2 phosphates one is present on first carbon and another is present on last carbon. Now this fructose 1,6 biphosphate undergoes splitting. Once it splits, it gives rise to two isomers. One is 3-phosphoglyceraldehyde, another is dihydroxyacetone phosphate. In short form, it is said to be DHAP, dihydroxyacetone phosphate. This 3-phosphoglyceraldehyde is named as 3-PCALD, 3-phosphoglyceraldehyde. These two are isomers. They can interchange. They can interchange as well. And then, for further steps, one more thing you have noticed. Respiration is an energy yielding process. But in glycolysis, in two steps, 2 ATPs of energy is consumed, is used to get prepared to yield the energy. Before glucose yields energy, it gets energy. In starting two steps, 2 ATPs are used, consumed. And now, among 2 isomers, 3-phosphoglyceraldehyde and dihydroxyacetone phosphate, in further steps, only 3-phosphoglyceraldehyde take part. Only this takes part as well. In the first step, it undergoes dehydrogenation. That hydrogen is received by NAD+. It becomes NADH2. In this step, energy yielding started. So that leading to the 1 NADH2 is formed means 3 ATPs of energy is released. And now 3-phosphoglyceraldehyde becomes 1,3-biphosphoglyceric acid. 1,3-biphosphoglyceric acid. Here 1,3 indicate 2 phosphate groups. One is present on first carbon, other is present on third carbon. And this 1,3-biphosphoglyceric acid, now it loses one phosphate group. That phosphate group is received by ADP. Then ADP becomes ATP. Here the generation of one ATP. As it gives one phosphate, this 1,3-biphosphoglyceric acid becomes 3-phosphoglyceric acid. Remember, just one phosphate is there, that is there on last carbon. Here it is there on last carbon. And phosphate present on first carbon is released in the form of ATP. Now this 3-phosphoglyceric acid, it just mutually exchange its phosphate group from third carbon to the second carbon. Just shifting of that phosphate from third carbon to the second carbon. Now that is 2-phosphoglyceric acid. It is 3-phosphoglyceric acid and is 2-phosphoglyceric acid. And just mutual exchange of phosphate group from that 3-phosphoglyceric third carbon to the second carbon. And now this 2-phosphoglyceric acid releases water, loses water and become phosphoenolpyruvic acid. Already we have come across it. This one, PEP, is a compound which fixes CO2 in the C4 pathway, that phosphoenolpyruvic acid. And now this phosphoenolpyruvic acid, in its final step, it loses its phosphate group, that is received by ADP, and ADP becomes ATP, and phosphoenolpyruvic acid becomes the final product of glycolysis, that is pyruvic acid. Pyruvic acid is formed. And From glucose up to this, a single reaction goes. Once 3-phosphoglyceraldehyde and dihydroxyacetone phosphate, 2 isomers are formed. Only 3-phosphoglyceraldehyde takes part further. And what is the fate of this? As it is an isomer, if it wishes to take the part in the reaction, it is converted into 3-phosphoglyceraldehyde. So that as it is also becoming 3-phosphoglyceraldehyde, we do have 2 molecules. And here just one NADH2 is formed. Now it becomes 2 NADH2. It means 3 into 2 into 3, 6 ATPs are generated. Because it has converted into this. And now this 1,3-biphosphogylic acid, this is also 2 molecules, means is also 2 molecules. And here into 2 ATPs are formed. And as it is 2 molecules, and this is also 2 molecules. And now this is also 2 molecules. And releases 2 molecules of water and forming 2 molecules of phosphoenol pyruvic acid. And 2 ATPs are formed. Then finally 2 molecules of pyruvic acids are formed. Glucose is having 6 carbon and pyruvic acids are having 3 carbon, but they are 2 molecules. This is glycolysis, a splitting of glucose into 2 pyruvic acids. That is glycolysis as well. These are all stepwise reaction. Any step they can individually they ask. Like when glucose gets phosphorylated, which of the following product is formed? Glucose is phosphorylated in the sense what? If it takes energy from ATP, the product formed is glucose 6-phosphate. And if it undergoes isomerization, fructose 6-phosphate. When fructose 6-phosphate undergoes phosphorylation, the product is fructose 1,6-biphosphate. And now, when it splits, 2 isomers are formed. One is 3-phosphoglyceraldehyde, another is dihydroxyacetone phosphate. But only 3-phosphoglyceraldehyde takes part further. Even this DHAP is converted into this, so that we have to go with 2 molecules as well. And then it is time to know equation for glycolysis in a single equation. Glucose C6, acetone O6. It gives 2 molecules of pyruvic acids, CS3, COOH is the molecular formula of pyruvic acid. And how many NADH2 are formed? 2 NADH2. How many ATPs are formed? Here 2 ATP, here 2 ATP. Totally 4 ATP. But at the starting, 2 ATPs are consumed. Actually, 4 ATPs are generated. But in starting 2 steps, 2 ATPs are consumed. So that we have to give those 2 ATPs and remaining will be 2. Pyruvic acid, 2 NADH2 and 2 ATPs is an equation for glycolysis. They may ask by giving many equations. They can ask in NEET, which of the following is an equation for glycolysis? 1 glucose gives 2 two pyramic acids, two NADH2 and two ATPs are formed. Two NADH2 and two ATPs. Actually 4 ATPs are formed. But here 2 ATPs are used, That's why we have written 2 ATPs. This is the equation. And remember, glycolysis is the first step in aerobic respiration, but no oxygen is used. And one more question they can ask in NEET. In which of the following step of respiration neither oxygen is used nor CO2 is released? Glycolysis is the answer. Here oxygen is not used, even CO2 is not released. In NEET they can make the question and ask, in which of the following step of respiration oxygen neither oxygen is used nor CO2 is released. Both the events didn't take place here. Okay? Yes. This is the process. And now 1 NADH2 means 3 ATPs. 2 NADH2 means 6 ATP and these 2 ATP. Net gain of energy, in case they ask the net gain of energy in glycolysis, 8 ATP but not 10 ATP, because 2 ATPs are consumed here. 8 ATPs, net gain of energy in glycolysis, 8 ATPs. And equation in which we have written 2 NADH2. 2 NADH2 means what? 6 ATPs. And here 2 ATPs, totally 8 ATPs as well. This is about glycolysis. In addition to this, they may ask the question. The enzymes in each step, they may ask, but that is not given in your text, NCERT text. But the extension of syllabus, they can ask, so that glucose becomes glucose 6-phosphate in presence of an enzyme. One end terminology you should remember, whenever ATPs are used and ATPs are released, the name of enzyme ends with kinase. Remember this point. In any reaction, whether ATPs are used or ATPs are released, the name of enzyme ends with kinase, and glucose becomes glucose 6-phosphate in presence of hexokinase enzyme. Glucose is a 6-carbon compound, and as ATPs are used, hexokinase. And glucose 6-phosphate undergoes isomerization, becomes fructose 6-phosphate. In presence of an enzyme, the name phosphoglucoisomerase. Phosphoglucoisomerase. It means what? A glucose having phosphate undergoes isomerization. The name itself indicates isomerization. Phosphoglucoisomerization. And then fructose 6-phosphate takes ATP. So that name of enzyme ends with kinase. Then a fructose having a phosphate make use of ATP, so that the name is a fructose having phosphate, means phosphofructokinase. ATP is used in this. The name of enzyme ends with kinase, phosphofructokinase. That's all. And now fructose 1,6-biphosphate undergoes splitting and it is in presence of aldolase. Aldolase. The enzyme which takes part in this step is aldolase. And now it gives these two compounds, and now this 3-phosphoglyceraldehyde becomes 1,3-biphosphoglyceric acid by giving hydrogen. It means it undergoes dehydrogenation. It undergoes dehydrogenation. As it undergoes dehydrogenation, which compound has undergoes dehydrogenation? A glyceraldehyde having phosphate. So that phosphoglycerodehydrogenase. A glyceraldehyde having phosphate, phosphoglycero, undergoes dehydrogenation. Enzyme is dehydrogenase. And now 1,3-biphosphoglyseric acid is formed. I have mentioned whenever ATP is used or released, the name ends with kinase. A glyceric acid having phosphate group is using ADP and forming ATP. The enzyme is phosphoglycerokinase. And 3-phosphoglyceric acid. There is a mutual understanding, exchange of phosphate group from third carbon to the second carbon, so that it is in presence of an enzyme mutase. Mutual exchange is there, mutase. And now 2-phosphoglyceric acid loses water. This is in presence of dehydrase. Hydration means addition of water. Dehydration means removal of water. It is a dehydration, and here the enzyme is dehydrase. And now in final step, phosphoenol pyruvic acid produces 1 ATP, so that this enzyme is pyruvic kinase. Pyruvic kinase. As far as glycolysis is concerned, the extension of syllabus, you should remember the enzymes as well, where hexokinase, phosphoglucoisomerase, phosphoproctokinase, aldolase, phosphoglycerodehydrogenase, phosphoglycerokinase, mutase, dehydrase, and here pyruvic kinase. Okay? Once in NEET, the question was asked, 2-phosphoglyceric acid is having how many carbons? The question was asked. If you use the logic, because we are knowing if just one phosphate is there, that is there on the last carbon. Here the name is 2-phosphoglyceric acid. 2 indicates the last carbon, so that the compound is having 2 carbons. No, the compound is having 3 carbons, because it is formed from 3-phosphoglyceric acid by the mutual exchange of phosphate group. That's why logically they ask this question. How many carbons are there in 3-phosphoglyceric acid? Answer is 3. How many carbons are there in glucose? Glucose 6-phosphate, 6 carbon. By knowing this only you can tell. But by knowing this, if you tell logically, it's wrong. Because it is formed from 3-phosphoglyceric acid by mutual exchange of the phosphate from that third carbon to the second carbon. Remember, this is an exceptional case. And I have already mentioned exceptional cases are NEET questions. So that 2-phosphoglyceric acid is having 3 carbons but not 2 carbons.